They are at the top of the op-ed pages. They determine, where people like you and me can publish things. They, as you know, run our universities. They determine who gets in. They determine what kind of classes can be taught. And, they're at the parties that we go to. They are the people who I meet in my neighborhood in Queens. There's certain assumptions, such as, for example, that Caitlin Flanagan is the devil. In many circles, if you're talking about thoughts on women's issues, she's thought of as just this horrible, clueless person for articles which I've always found to just be lightly challenging, centrist pieces. But you say Caitlin Flanagan in some rooms and everybody just jumps and throws their drinks. And it's not fair, but you can't change it by telling people that they're fools. We don't like being told that we're fools. And the people in general are not fools. I think that more and more it's that they've been instructed in maybe 2 or 3 basic tenets which fall apart if you actually examine them. And I think that's a lot of the whole Jordan Peterson phenomenon, that he is teaching a certain kind of mostly fanboy to think for themselves. And yeah, he's kind of sinister. And I had a little encounter with him at Aspen where
John, you were splendid, John. You asked him, how does he know? How does he know?
I know.
I want people to understand what you did in that, and you can elaborate. You asked him, you said some of the people who come before us and insist on being called by a pronoun other than he or she, want to be called they or whatever, are genuinely in pain and need to be recognized in their pain and should be accommodated out of basic human decency. And others are playing a card. They're manipulative. They're simply seizing the moment to be able to force you to do a certain thing. How do you know which are which? You're a psychologist. You claim to have a scientific basis for the things that you do. Tell us how you know. Damn good question, John.
I was enjoying myself. That really only happened. I was one of many people in the audience, and Corby Kummer, the Atlantic writer, we were sitting together, and he got me the microphone because I was saying to him, this guy needs to be asked a real question. I didn't know that it was going to be me and that I was going to do that. But yeah, I just wanted to know, how do you know? I would be interested to know, how can you tell whether a person like that is sincere or not? Because he had claimed that his psychological training gave him techniques to know. That sounded interesting to me. Yes, a little bit of me suspected that he had no such technique, but I was thinking, if there is one, I wouldn't mind. I'm in the same environment, and now and then I get the feeling that some of these students are trying on an identity or trying to shock the bourgeois. How can you tell? Because my general policy is just to accept all of them and give them what they want, because why not? And I can't see into their brains. I wanted to know. And it's very interesting, him and his followers, because this got discussed on Twitter and Facebook much more than I expected. Everybody gets caught up. It's kind of like getting caught up in Starbucks as opposed to the general phenomenon. Everybody's caught up in the fact that technically he's saying he will not follow a law to the effect that he has to use pronouns like this. Now, if you're a legal scholar, et cetera, I suppose that's interesting, but that's not what I asked the man.
Right.
And he tried to talk about that, and I kept trying to hold his feet to the fire. How can you tell? And he didn't give an answer, which surprised me because I thought he would be prepared to give a real answer. You get the feeling that he's used to basically saying the same 12 or 13 things over and over. He could have given a better answer, and he didn't. But that kind of person who's basically trying to cut through the Kant, cut through these tenets, there's a reason he's so popular. And I don't think that it can be discounted. And it's part of what I mean that something's happening, because the people who like Jordan Peterson, I guess some of them are Charlottesville marchers, but it's not the vast majority. These are centrist, often left people who just are tired of things not making sense. There's a moment. So yeah, that's what's going on. But no, I'll
tell you, I actually read 12 Rule, or I listened to it in the car as I was driving back from North Carolina to Providence earlier in the summer. It's damn good.
I bet it is.
It's very powerful. It's very well written. It's very forceful and direct. And it's a self-help book, and as self-help books go, it's not at all bad. I mean, the 12 Rules made, the first one is stand up straight with your shoulders back, and then he goes on as to what he means by that. And he goes through a lot of other stuff besides, and some of it made sense to me. And I'm not an alt-right fanboy over here.
Right.
But he did dodge you. And he ended up, rather than being the cognitive parsing of discriminating amongst people making certain claims on you because you have insight into their motives, it became I'm not going to let the state tell me what words to say, free speech defense, which was not what you were asking him about. So